to be nice, so let's see. We're on the second chapter still, and she's still listing things about her mother's sadness. So we're on number 17, carrots. With my allowance, I bought a book called Edible Plants and Flowers in North America. I learned that you could leach the bitterness out of acorns by boiling them in water, that wild roses are edible, and that you should avoid anything that smells of almond, has a three-leaved growth pattern, or has milky sap. I tried to identify as many plants as I could in Prospect Park because I knew it would be a long time before I'd be able to recognize every plant, and because there was always the chance that I have to survive in some place other than North America. I also memorized the universal edibility test. It's a good idea to know, since some poisonous plants, like hemlock, can look similar to some edible plants, like wild carrots and parsnips. To do the test, you have to first not eat for 8 hours. Then you separate the plant into its different parts: root, leaf, stem, bud, and flower, and test a small piece of one on the inside of your wrist. If nothing happens, touch it to the inside of your lip for 3 minutes, and if nothing happens after that, hold it on your tongue for 15 minutes. If nothing still happens, you can chew it without swallowing, and hold that in your mouth for 15 minutes. And if nothing happens after that, swallow and wait 8 hours. And if nothing happens after that, eat a quarter of a cup's worth. And if nothing happens after that, it's edible. I kept edible plants and flowers in North America under my bed in a backpack that also had my father's Swiss Army knife, a flashlight, a plastic tarp, a compass, a box of granola bars, 2 bags of peanut M&Ms, 3 cans of tuna, a can opener, Band-Aids, a snake bite kit, a change of underwear, and a New York City subway map. It really should have also had a piece of flint, but when I tried to buy one at the hardware store, they wouldn't sell it to me, either because I was too young or because they thought I was a pyromaniac. In an emergency, you can always strike a spark using a hunting knife and a piece of jasper, agate, or jade, but I didn't know where to find jasper, agate, or jade. Instead, I took some matches from the 2nd Street Cafe and I put them in a Ziploc bag to protect them from the rain. For Chinooka, I asked for a sleeping bag. The one my mother got for me had pink hearts on it, was made of flannel, and would keep me alive for about 5 seconds in sub-zero temperatures before I died of hypothermia. I asked her if we could take it back and get a heavy weight down bag instead. "Where are you planning to sleep? The Arctic Circle?" she asked. I thought, there, or maybe the Peruvian Andes, since that's where Dad once camped. To change the subject, I told her about hemlock, wild carrots, and parsnip, but that turned out to be a bad idea because her eyes got teary, and when I asked her what was wrong, she said nothing. It just reminded her of the carrots Dad used to grow in the garden in Ramat Gan. I wanted to ask her what else he used to grow aside from an olive tree, a lemon tree, and carrots, but I didn't want to make her even sadder. I started to keep a notebook called How to Survive in the Wild. 18. My mother never fell out of love with my father. She's kept her love for him as alive as the summer they first met. In order to do this, she's turned life away. Sometimes she subsists for days on water and air. Being the only known complex life form to do this, she should have a species named after her. Once, Uncle Julian told me how the sculptor and painter Alberto Chiasmetti said that sometimes just to paint a head, you have to give up the whole figure. To paint a leaf, you have to sacrifice the whole landscape. It might seem like you're limiting yourself at first, but after a while you realize that having a quarter of an inch of something, you have a better chance of holding on to a certain feeling of the universe than if you pretended to be doing the whole sky. My mother did not choose a leaf or a head. She chose my father. And to hold on mother has only been on 2 dates since my father died. The first was 5 years ago, when I was 10, with a fat English editor at one of the houses that publishes her translations. On his left pinky, he wore a ring with a family crest that may or may not have been his own. Whether he was talking about himself, he waved that hand. A conversation occurred in which it was established that my mother and this man, Lyle, had been at Oxford at the same time. On the strength of his coincidence, he'd asked her out. Plenty of men have asked my mother out, and she always said no. For some reason, this time she agreed. On Saturday night, she appeared in the living room with her hair swept up, wearing the red shawl my father bought for her in Peru. "How do I look?" she asked. She looked beautiful, but somehow it didn't seem fair to wear it. There wasn't time to say anything because right then Lyle arrived at the front door, panting. He made himself comfortable on the sofa. I asked him if he knew anything about wilderness survival, and he said, "Absolutely." I asked him if he knew the difference between hemlock and wild carrots, and he gave me a blow-by-blow account of the final moments of an Oxford regatta during which his boat vaulted forward to win during the last 3 seconds. "Holy cow," I said, in a way that could have been interpreted as sarcastic. Lyle also recalled fond memories of punting on the Cherwell. I might be saying that wrong. My mother said she wouldn't know, since she never punted on the Cherwell. I thought, well, I'm not surprised. After they left, I stayed up watching a TV program about the albatrosses of Antarctica. They can go years without touching the ground, sleep aloft in the sky, drink seawater, cry out the salt, and return year after year to raise babies with the same mate. I must have fallen asleep because when I heard my mother's key in the lock, it was almost 1 a.m. A few girls had fallen down around her neck, and her mascara was smudged. But when I asked her how it went, she said she knew orangutans with whom she could carry on more exciting conversations. About a year later, Bird fractured his wrist trying to leap off her neighbor's balcony, and the tall, stooped doctor who treated him in the emergency room asked my mother on a date. Maybe it was because he made Bird smile even though his hand was turned at a terrible angle from his wrist. But for the second time since my father died, my mother said yes. The doctor's name was Henry Lavender, which I thought boded well. Amma Lavender. When the doorbell rang, Bird streaked down the stairs naked, but for his cast, put "That's Amore" on the record player and streaked back up. My mother shot down the stairs not wearing her red shawl and pulled up the needle. The record gave out a screech. It spun noiselessly on the turntable while Henry Lavender came in and accepted a glass of cold white wine and told us about his collection of seashells, many of which he dove for himself on trips to the Philippines. I imagined our future together in which he would take us on diving expeditions, the 4 of us smiling at each other through our masks under the sea. The next morning, I asked my mother how it had gone. She said he was a perfectly nice man. I saw this as a positive thing, but when Henry Lavender called that afternoon, my mother was at the supermarket and didn't call him back. 2 days later, he made another attempt. This time, my mother was going for a walk in the park. I said, "You're not going to call him back, are you?" And she said, "No." When Henry Lavender called a 3rd time, she was engrossed in a book of stories, repeatedly exclaiming that the author should be given a posthumous Nobel. My mother is always giving out posthumous Nobels. I slipped into the kitchen with the portable. "Dr. Lavender," I said, and then I told him that I thought my mother actually liked him, and even though a normal person would probably be very happy to talk to him and even go out again, I'd known my mother for 11.5 years, and she'd never done anything normal. 21. I thought it was just that she hadn't met the right person. The fact that she stayed home all day in her pajamas translating books by mostly dead people didn't seem to help matters much. Sometimes she would get stuck on a certain sentence for hours and go around like a dog with a bone until she recently shed his skin. He kept 2 llamas in his backyard. After class, while everyone else was handling Mahatma, I asked if he was married and when. With a puzzled expression, he said no. I asked for his business card. It had a picture of a monkey on it, and a few kids lost interest in the snake and started demanding business cards too. That night, I found an attractive snapshot of my mother in a bathing suit to send to Dr. Frank Tucci, along with a typed list of her best qualities. These included high IQ, big reader, attractive, see photo, funny. Bart looked over the list and after some thought suggested I add opinionated, which was a word I taught him, and also stubborn. When I said I didn't think those were her best or even good qualities, Bert said if they were on the list, it might make it seem like they were good, and then if Dr. Tucci agreed to meet her, he wouldn't be put off. This seemed like a fair argument at the time, so I added opinionated and stubborn. At the bottom, I wrote our telephone number. Then I mailed it. A week passed and he didn't call. 3 days went by and I wondered if maybe I shouldn't have written opinionated and stubborn. The next day the telephone rang and I heard my mother say, "Frank who?" There was a long silence. "Excuse me." Another silence. Then she started laughing hysterically. She got off the phone and came to my room. "What was that all about?" I asked innocently. "The person who just called," I said. "What was that all about?" My mother asked, even more innocently. "The person who just called," I said. "Oh, that," she said. "I hope you don't mind. I arranged a double date. Me and the snake charmer and you and Herman Cooper." Herman Cooper was an 8th grade nightmare who lived on our block, called everyone penis, and hooted at the huge balls on our neighbor's dog. "I'd rather lick the sidewalk," I said. I'm gonna stop there for tonight. If you want to watch these in order, I will link a playlist below in the comments so that you can. Make sure to leave a like on this video if you liked it, and subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so that you are notified when I come out with more to this series and other videos, because I should be coming out with more videos, and I have a lot of other videos on my channel, so yeah, over 200 now. Whatever you are doing, have a good day, good night, good evening. Bye guys. My channel is sponsored by a website called Wildflower Sex. For the rest of this ad read, I'm going to say sax, like saxophone, instead of the word that I need to say. So, let's talk more about Wildflower Sex. They are a sexual wellness company. First, I'll tell you about what I've purchased from there so far. Now, I will say I bought this without having any experience with said item. The other thing that I purchased on their website are some period cups. They're silicone, and it's really great if you want to reduce your carbon footprint in the environment. They are used for replacements for feminine products. But these period cups I got from Wildflower are really, really high quality. They're the perfect size for me. They have all different shapes and sizes of period cups and toys. So let's get more into the website itself. Right off the bat, the website is extremely inclusive. I absolutely love it. That's the first thing that really drew me into this website. Plus, not only do they talk about saxophone education and wellness, but they talk about inclusivity and how you can learn how to be more inclusive and things like that. Here's one example of something called the NB. If you scroll down, it will tell you what it's good for, what it's best used for, and if you scroll even more, you get some pretty detailed, pretty honest, and great reviews, which, I don't know, for me, it's nice to see honest reviews on a website. But not only that, it's pretty dang entertaining too. If you never have, go through the reviews of saxophone toys. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Anyway, my favorite part about this website isn't even the toys and inclusivity. It is the article that they give you about saxophone education. It is so hard to keep remembering to say saxophone. You go to this tab and there's tons of articles about gender, how-to guides, relationships, sax, body positivity, toys, tools, and my favorite I found, mental health. Super helpful. It's so wonderful to see an adult website that promotes saxophone wellness and education rather than just trying to throw stuff at you to buy constantly. Consider shopping around the site. And again, my affiliate link is in the description below, and if you can't spend money right now, I fully understand. Check out the website anyway and read the articles they have to offer, because it's never too late to learn new things. Purchase anything through my link, then I will get part of that commission, so you would be supporting me. It would be great. By the way, I have other links if you want to check those out. They will be in my link trick below as well. therapist, the woman that he loved as a child and is writing about when he says all of this. I'm pretty sure it is literally written by the daughter, who's the sister of the son, who's the professional writer. I don't know if I'm explaining this right. I'm just gonna keep reading. For 11 and a half years, and she'd never done anything normal. That sounds like someone I know. You guys are seeing what my real chair looks like. Oh gosh. No. It's not secretly gray, I promise. Posthumous Nobel.